live in 3, 2, 1, go. We are live. Hi, Vani. What's up?
I'm good. How are you?
All good. All good. So, abhi mere paas ek link aane wala hai. I'll quickly share it with you also so that we can put it at some places. और yes, the link is here. मैं आपको भी दे देता हूँ जिससे थोड़ी जनता आ जाए. You are in that WhatsApp group, right?
Yeah.
I have posted it there. ठीक है, तो आप बताइए, मैं एक दो जगह और देख लेता हूँ. लाइक आप भी जहाँ भी पोस्ट करना आप कर दो. एंड डू टेल अस हम आज क्या पढ़ रहे हैं.
So we're going to read a short story. जिसका title है The Ones Who Walk Away from Omela. Omelas is a city which is a beautiful city. It seems as if वहाँ पे हमेशा summer festival चलते हैं. And it's actually a utopian city, just ki very prosperous, very happening and very happy. People are very happy there. But the only catch is that the prosperity of the entire city depends on the
ये मत बताओ. ये जब आप पहुंचेंगे वहाँ पे तब बताएंगे.
Yeah. So it's basically about a city which is very prosperous. And yeah, it's about the happy citizens of this happy and like not so happy citizens of the city.
मैं इसके बारे में पढ़ रहा था, इसको ह्यूगो अवार्ड वगैरह काफी कुछ मिला है. Is it a very new story?
Yeah, it won a Hugo Award for the best short story in 1974.
74, yeah. So is it a big deal or like मतलब बहुत बड़ी बात होती है क्या?
Yeah, Hugo Awards is like one of the best awards one can win for short stories. I mean, this is what I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know what the fun fact is that Ursula K. Le Guin, who is the author of this short story, how did she come up with the name Omelas? She saw a signboard in the mirror of her car, like what is it called? In the car mirror, like towards the right side, there was this. She saw a sign, Salem, Oregon, and she mirrored these. She saw them in the mirror, so they came across mirrored, and that's how she came across the name Omelas.
Oh, काफी cool है, काफी cool.
Yeah.
Shall we start? मैंने लिंक डाल दिया है, I'm assuming हर जगह, और लोग भी आ रहे हैं, तो अब हम स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. Is my audio clear?
Yes.
Do you also have coffee?
I have water with me, but yeah.
ठीक है. बीच में मैं भी थोड़ा सा पढ़ूंगा, तो it's not Omelas, it is Omela.
Omelas.
अच्छा. और गाइस इस बार हम आपको बहुत बच्चों के जैसे एक्सप्लेन करेंगे. ELI 5 होता है ना, एक्सप्लेन मी लाइक आई एम 5, क्योंकि मैं भी जब पढ़ रहा था तो लाइक इट माइट टेक, बिकॉज देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ वीकनेस इन द स्टोरी, बट इट्स सच अ ग्रेट स्टोरी दैट वी लाइक कहीं पे भी कुछ ना तो बता देना, नहीं तो हम खुद एक्सप्लेन करेंगे. लेट्स स्टार्ट वन.
So we're reading The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas by Ursula K. Le Guin. With a clamor of bells that set the swallows soaring, the festival of summer came to the city Omelas, bright towered by the sea. The rigging of the boats in harbor sparkled with flags. In the streets between houses with red roofs and painted walls, between old moss-grown gardens and under avenues of trees, past great parks and public buildings, processions moved. Some were decorous, old people in long, stiff robes of mauve and grey, grave master workmen, quiet, merry women carrying their babies and chatting as they walked. In other streets, the music beat faster, a shimmering of gong and...
Your video is gone. Okay, it's back. Yeah.
All the processions, children dodged in and out, their high calls rising like the swallows crossing flights over the music and the singing. All the processions would wound towards the north side of the city, where mud-stained feet and ankles and long lead arms exercised their restive horses before the race. The horses wore no gear at all, but a halter without bit. Their manes were braided with streamers of silver, gold, and green. They flared their nostrils and pranced and boasted to one another. They were vastly excited. The horse being the only animal who has adopted our ceremonies as his own. Far off to the north and west, the mountains stood up, half encircling Omelas on her bay. The air of morning was so clear that the snow still crowning the 18 peaks burned with white gold fire across the miles of sunlit air, under the dark blue of the sky. There was just enough wind to make the banners that marked the racecourse snap and flutter now and then. In the silence of the broad green meadows, one could hear the music winding through the city streets, farther and nearer and ever approaching, a cheerful faint sweetness of the air that from time to time trembled and gathered together and broke out into the great joyous clanging of the bells. Joyous. How is one to tell about joy? How describe the citizens of Omelas?
Okay, so अब थोड़ा लोगों को बता देते हैं कि चल क्या रहा है. Like you also explain, I also explain. अभी तो basically he's just explaining, she is explaining the scenery of the whole thing, right?
Yeah, the city.
हाँ, कि सिटी में क्या है, सब कैसे हैं. अभी it's mostly about the landscapes right now, but धीरे-धीरे you'll realize कि why the author is doing it. And now she'll talk about the people of Omela. And let's go further. Yes.
They were not simple folk, you see, though they were happy. But we do not say the words of cheer much anymore. All smiles have become archaic. Given a description such as this one tends to make certain assumptions. Given a description such as this one tends to look next for the king mounted on a splendid stallion and surrounded by his noble knights, or perhaps in a golden litter borne by great muscled slaves. But there was no king. They did not use swords or keep slaves. They were not barbarians. I do not know the rules and laws of their society, but I suspect that they were singularly few. As they did without monarchy and slavery, so they also got on without the stock exchange, the advertisement, the secret police, and the bomb. Yet I repeat that these were not simple folk, not dulce shepherds, noble savages, bland utopians.
One second. Dulce क्या होता है? I don't know. बताइए. DULCEP. Let's see. What Kindle बताता है क्या?
It's sweet and soothing.
Oh, okay. ठीक है. Sorry, continue.
So yeah, so she's just telling you that these people are happy, but they're not simple folk. And they have no monarchy or slavery, and they have no stock exchange, no advertisement, no secret police or bombing, etc. And they are happy, but they are not simple folk. They were not less complex than us. The trouble is that we have a bad habit, encouraged by sophisticates, of considering happiness as something rather stupid. Only pain is intellectual, only evil interesting. This is the treason of the artist, a refusal to admit the banality of evil and the terrible boredom of pain. If you can't lick him, join them. If it hurts, repeat it. But to praise
इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? मतलब I have the author written this line.
Yeah, I think you'll realize it, Abhi, because she's just telling everybody, she's described the scenery of the city, which is like so beautiful. She's describing the people as happy. But she's also telling you that they are they're not simple folk, despite being very happy, and despite the fact that society mein monarchy, slavery, stock exchange, ads, police, वगैरह नहीं है. They're not they are happy, but they're not simple, despite all this. And now she's coming to the fact that I think she's coming why they're not simple.
Someone has commented, premise seems closer to, Sagar Patwal has commented, premise seems closer to Midsommar. Can we expect something similar? Have you seen Midsommar?
No, I haven't.
So, Midsommar maybe एक यूटोपियन दुनिया दिखाई है. उसमें भी दिखाया कि सब कुछ अच्छा हो रहा होता है, सब कुछ हो रहा होता है, but then you realize something dark about the I don't know, Midsommar wasn't the place, I suppose, but हाँ आपको फिर पता चलता है कि something shady is going on, and जो लोग अभी देख रहे हैं उनको पता चलेगा अभी भी कुछ shady होने वाला है. हाँ.
So She says, I really like this line, only pain is intellectual, only evil interesting. This is the treason of the artist, a refusal to admit the banality of evil and the terrible boredom of pain. If you can't lick him, join him. If it hurts, repeat it. But to praise despair is to condemn delight. To embrace violence is to lose hold of everything else. We have almost lost hold. We can no longer describe a happy man, nor make any celebration of joy. How can I tell you about the people of Omelas? They were not naive or happy children, though their children were in fact happy. They were mature, intelligent, passionate adults whose lives were not wretched. But I wish I could describe it better. I wish I could convince you. Omelas sounds, in my words, like a city in a fairy tale, long ago and far away once upon a time. Perhaps.
Yeah. So again, ये थोड़ा बता देते because I've highlighted this part. I really like the description की जो basically अभी लोगों की बात हो रही है. They were mature, intelligent, passionate adults whose lives were not rich or American, but I wish I could describe it better. I wish I could convince you. Omela sounds, in my words, like a city in a fairy tale, long ago and far away, once upon a time. So I really like how the author wrote long ago and far away, once upon a time. मतलब like to conclude a sentence, वो मेरे को बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है. सब perfect है यहाँ पे, like everything is good, everything is happy. बट अगर आप लोग देख रहे हैं तो हम लाइक उसमें भी डिस्क्रिप्शन में बताया इट्स एक्चुअली अ हॉरर स्टोरी काइंड ऑफ आई डोंट नो सो लेट्स टेक इट फ्रॉम हियर मैं पढ़ूं थोड़ा सा आगे
या श्योर परहैप्स इट वुड बी बेटर
हाँ प्लीज पानी पी लो यार फिर बाद में मेरे को बुरा लगता है कि इतना सारा पढ़ लिया ठीक है perhaps it would be best if you imagined it as your own fancy beds assuming it will rise to the occasion for certainly I cannot suit you all. So I think by this the author means कि अपने हिसाब से इस utopia को imagine करो.
Yeah.
For instance, how about technology? I think that there would be no cars or helicopters in and above the streets. This follows from the fact that the people of Omila are happy people. Happiness is based on just a discrimination of what is necessary, what is neither necessary nor destructive, and what is destructive. In the middle category, however, that of the unnecessary but undestructive, that of comfort, luxury, and exuberance, they could perfectly well have central heating, subway trains, washing machines, and all kinds of this device not yet invented here. Floating light sources, fuelless power, a cure for the common cold, although they could have none of that. It doesn't matter. So is the author trying to say ये चीजें मतलब कि वहाँ पे हो भी सकती नहीं भी हो सकती? Is that the point?
Yeah,
मेरे को समझ नहीं आया.
I think she's just asking you to imagine it the way you want a utopian world to be like. So if you want central heating, well, it could have it. If you don't want it, then maybe it's not necessary. She's just asking you to paint it according to your imagination.
Okay. As you like
or
it.
they could have none of that. That it doesn't matter as long as you want it.
Okay. I incline to think that people from towns ups and downs the coast have been coming into Omila during the last days before the festival on very fast little trains and double deck trams, and that the train station of Omila is actually the handsomest building in town, though plainer than the magnificent farmers market. But even granted trains, I fear that Omila so far strikes some of you as goody-goody. Smiles, bells, parades, horses, blah. If so, please add an orgy. If an orgy would help, don't hesitate. Let us not, however, have temples from which issue beautiful nude priests and priestesses already half in ecstasy and ready to copulate with any man or woman. Fuck ये सही में midsummer zone में जा रही है. Lover or stranger who desires union with the deep godhead of the blood. Although that was my first idea. So एक मेरे को बात बताओ, I'm like a little confused. So when author is writing this and when the author is talking about Omila, is she playing the role of a spectator or is she imagining something कि आप ये हो भी सकता है या नहीं भी हो सकता? Because if she's playing the role of a spectator, then तो she should be sure ना कि क्या हो रहा है, orgy हो रही है नहीं हो रही, बाकी चीजें हैं या नहीं.
Yeah, she's just describing you the tale of a city, And she's not able to tell you, she accepts that she's not able to describe how, the city feels like. So she wants you to imagine as you like it. Like there's a sentence, as you like it. Like however you want the city to be like. She wants you to imagine it that way. Because the city
Okay.
is actually like that. It is the ultimate utopian city. And
Okay.
whatever is it that you want to imagine, you can. She's asking you to imagine a city for yourself. I think she's doing it so that, the readers actually invest into putting themselves in the scene, so that whatever happens
Okay.
later, they are able to relate.
Okay. But really, it would be better not to have any temples in Omela, at least not man temples. Religion, yes, clergy, no. Surely the beautiful nudes can just wander about, offering themselves like divine softles to the hunger of the nerdy and the rapture of the flesh. Let them join the processions. Let tambourines be struck above the copulations, and the glory of desire be proclaimed upon the gongs. And let the offspring of these delightful rituals be beloved and looked after by all. One thing I know there is none of. One thing I know there is none of in Omela is guilt. But what else should there be? I thought at first there were not drugs, but that is puritanical. I don't know what this means. Do you know? मतलब कुछ क्या मतलब है इस word का? This is important.
But that is not, no, I'm not sure.
Okay. For those who like it, the faint, insistent sweetness of druze may perfume the ways of the city. Druze, which brings a great lightness and brilliance to the minds and limbs. And then, after some art, a dreamy languor and wonderful visions at last of the very arcana and inmost secrets of the universe, as well as exciting the pleasure of sex beyond belief. And it is not habit forming. For the modest states, I think they ought to be bare. What else? What else belongs in the joyous city? The sense of victory, surely, the celebration of courage. But as we did without clergy, let us do without soldiers. This is a nice sign, right? The joy built upon successful slaughter is not the right kind of joy. ये काफी deep line है या मेरे को deep लग रही है?
It is actually
The
beautiful.
the joy built upon the successful slaughter is not actually very deep. मेरा font छोटा हो जा रहा है, मैं highlight करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ और छोटा हो गया. You take it from here.
So the joy built, but as we did without clergy, let us do without soldiers. The joy built upon successful slaughter is not the right kind of joy. It will not do. It is fearful and it is trivial. A boundless and generous contentment, a magnanimous triumph felt not against some outer enemy, but in communion with the finest and fairest in the souls of all men everywhere, and the splendor of the world's summer. This is what swells the hearts of the people of Omelas. And the victory they celebrate is that of life. I really don't think many of them need to take druids. Most of the procession have reached the green fields by now. A marvelous smell of cooking goes forth from the red and blue tents of the provisioners. The faces of small children are amiably sticky. In the benign grey beard of a man, a couple of crumbs of rich pastry are entangled. The youths and girls have mounted their horses and are beginning to group at the starting line of the course. An old woman, small, fat, and laughing, is passing out flowers from a basket, and tall young men wear her flowers in their shining hair. A child of 9 or 10 sits at the edge of the crowd alone, playing on a wooden flute. People pause to listen, and they smile. But they do not speak to him, for he never ceases playing and never sees them, his dark eyes wholly wrapped in the sweet, thin magic of the tune. He finishes and slowly lowers his hands holding the wooden flute. As if that little private silence were the signal, all at once a trumpet sounds from the pavilion near the starting line, imperious, melancholy, piercing. The horses rear on their slender legs, and some of them neigh in answer. Sober-faced, the young riders stroke the horse's neck and soothe them, whispering, "Quiet, quiet there, my beauty, my hope." They begin to form in rank along the starting line. The crowds along the race course are like a field of grass and flowers in the wind. The festival of summer has begun. Do you believe? Do you accept the festival, the city, the joy? No? Then let me describe one more thing.
Now, अगर आप लोग अभी भी देख रहे हैं वीडियो, so this is the point where everything changes. He'll describe, the author will describe, I'm so sorry, the author will describe another thing, and हमें बहुत एक, अब everything will change. So you can continue.
In a basement, then let me describe one more thing. In a basement, under one of the beautiful public buildings of Omelas, or perhaps in the cellar of one of its spacious private homes, there is a room. It has one locked door and no window. A little light seeps in dustily between cracks in the boards, second-hand from a cobwebbed window somewhere across the cellar. In one corner of the little room, a couple of mops with stiff, clotted, foul-smelling heads stand near a rusty bucket. The floor is dirt, a little damp to touch, as cellar dirt usually is. The room is about 3 paces long and 2 wide, a mere broom closet or disused tool room. In the room, a child is sitting. It could be a boy or a girl. It looks about 6, but actually is nearly 10. It is feeble-minded. Perhaps it was born defective, or perhaps it has become imbecile through fear, malnutrition, and neglect. It picks its nose and occasionally fumbles vaguely with its toes or genitals as it sits hunched in the corner farthest from the bucket and the 2 mops. It is afraid of the mops. It finds them horrible. It shuts its eyes, but it knows the mops are still standing there and the door is locked and nobody will come. The door is always locked and nobody ever comes, except that sometimes the child has no understanding of time or interval. Sometimes the door rattles terribly and opens and a person or several people are there. One of them may come in and kick the child to make it stand up. The others never come close, but peer in at it with frightened, disgusted eyes. The food bowl and the water jug are hastily filled. The door is locked, the eyes disappear. The people at the door never say anything, but the child who has not always lived in the tool room and can remember sunlight and its mother's voice sometimes speaks. "I will be good," it says. "Please let me out. I will be good." They never answer. The child used to scream for help at night and cry a good deal, but now it only makes a kind of whining. And it speaks less and less often. It is so thin there are no calves to its legs. Its belly protrudes. It lives on a half bowl of cornmeal and grease a day. It is naked. Its buttocks and thighs are a mass of festered sores as it sits in its own excrement continually.
So अभी चल क्या रहा है स्टोरी में बेसिकली देयर इज दिस यहाँ पे यूटोपियन पूरा एक मान लो दुनिया चल रही है, वहाँ पे सब खुश है, सब मचा रहे हैं, सब पार्टी कर रहे हैं, और अब सडनली एक रूम डिस्क्राइब किया गया जहाँ पे एक बच्चा जिसके को अभी बहुत ही ऐसे एक्सप्लिसिट तरीके से डिस्क्राइब किया गया. इट इज नेकेड, इट्स बटक्स एंड थाइज आर अ मास ऑफ फेस्टर्ड सोर्स एज इट सिट्स डाउन इन इट्स ओन एक्सक्रीमेंट कॉन्टिन्यूअली. कि बेसिकली ये जो बच्चा है इसके मतलब इसको बहुत ही गंदी सी सिचुएशन में रखा हुआ है एंड इट्स लाइक द शिटिएस्ट ऑफ शिटिएस्ट सिचुएशंस एंड बाहर दुनिया की सबसे ग्रेटेस्ट पार्टी चल रही है. सो नाउ वील रियलाइज कि हो क्या रहा है. मैं थोड़ा सा पढ़ूं आगे.
Sure.
They all know it is there, all the people of Omela. Some of them have come to see it, others are content merely to know it is there. They all know that it has to be there. Some of them understand why and some do not, but they all understand that their happiness, the beauty of their city, the tenderness of their friendship, the health of their children, the wisdom of their scholars, the skills of their makers, even the abundance of their harvest and the kindly weathers of their skies depend wholly on this child's abominable misery. So this is like one of my favorite paras from the story also. कि आई रियली लाइक जब भी कोई ऑथर ना एक बहुत ही एग्जैजरेटेड तरीके से एक चीज को बताता है. and by taking a lot of examples to tell one particular thing, like the beauty of the city, the tenderness of the friendship, the health of the children, the wisdom of their scholars, the skills of their makers, the abundance of their harvest, the kindly weathers of their skies. सो बेसिकली मेरे को बहुत पोएटिक लगता है इन द वे ऑथर हैज आल्सो रिटन दिस. इट इज सो गुड कि दुनिया में जो भी खुशी है वो इसलिए क्योंकि एक बच्चा मिजरी में है. And this is you. अब मैं आगे बढ़ता हूँ. This is usually explained to children when they are between 8 to 12, whenever they seem capable of understanding. And most of those who come to the child are young people. They often enough and they
Though
क्या है sorry?
often, though
हाँ,
often,
though often enough, an adult comes or comes back to see the child. No matter how well the matter has been explained to them, these young spectators are always shocked and sickened at the sight. They feel disgust, which they had thought themselves superior to. They feel anger, outrage, impotence, despite all the explanation. They would like to do something for the child, but there's nothing they can do. If the child were brought up into the sunlight out of the wild place, if it were cleaned and fed and comforted, that would be a good thing indeed. But if it were done in that day, and in that day now, all the prosperity and beauty and delight of formula would wither away and get destroyed. Those are the terms to exchange all the goodness and grace of every life phenomena for that single small improvement, to throw away the happiness of thousands for the chance of the happiness of one. That would be to let guilt within the walls indeed. The terms are strict and absolute. They may not be, so the terms are strict and absolute. There may not even be a kind word spoken to the child. तो एक अब मेरे को रियलाइज हो रहा है कितना फक्ड अप है डूड. मतलब और मेरे को अब इसके मेटाफर्स समझ आ रहा है कि स्टोरी में क्या चल रहा है. Often the young people go home in tears or in tearless rage when they have seen the child and faced the terrible paradox. They may brood over it for weeks or years, but as time goes on, they begin to realize that even if the child could be released, it would not get much food or of its freedom. A little vague pleasure of warmth and food, no doubt, but little more. It is too degraded and imbecile to know any real joy. It has been afraid too long ever to be free of fear. क्या line है boss? It has been afraid too long ever to be free of fear. Its habits are too uncouth for it to respond to humane treatment. Indeed, after so long, it would probably be wretched without walls about it. Indeed, after so long, it would probably be wretched without walls about it to protect it, and darkness for its eyes and its own excrement to sit in. Their tears are the bitter injustice dry when they begin to perceive the terrible justice of reality and to accept it. Yet it is their tears and anger, the trying of their generosity and the acceptance of their helplessness, which are perhaps the true source of splendor of their lives. ये भी बहुत सही line है. It is the trying of their generosity, right? There is no vapid irresponsible happiness. They know that they, like the child, are not free. They know compassion. It is the existence of the child and their knowledge of existence that makes. Yazid, would you like to read?
Sure. So, they know that they, like the child, are not free. They know compassion. It is the existence of the child and their knowledge of its existence that makes possible the nobility of their architecture, the poignancy of their music, the profundity of their science. It is because of the child that they are so gentle with children. They know that if the wretched one were not there sniveling in the dark, the other one, the flute player, could make no joyful music as the young riders line up in their beauty for the race in the sunlight of the first morning of summer. Now, do you believe in them? Are they not more credible? But there is one more thing to tell, and this is quite incredible. At times, one of the adolescent girls or boys who go to see the child does not go home to weep or rage, does not, in fact, go home at all. Sometimes also a man or woman much older falls silent for a day or two and then leaves home. These people go out into the street and walk down the street alone. They keep walking and walk straight out of the city of Omelas through the beautiful gates. They keep walking across the farmlands of Omelas. Each one goes alone, youth or girl, man or woman. Night falls. The traveler must pass down village streets between the houses with yellow lit windows and on out into the darkness of the fields. Each alone, they go west or north towards the mountains. They go on. They leave Omelas, they walk ahead into the darkness, and they do not come back. The place they go towards is a place even less imaginable to most of us than the city of happiness. I cannot describe it at all. It is possible that it does not exist, but they seem to know where they are going, the ones who walk away from Omelas.
मतलब नाउ आई सी ऑल द मेटाफर्स यार जो भी चल रहा है स्टोरी में लोग तो काफी सारे भाग गए people did not stay but like this was such a great story and ये जो पूरा हमारा दुनिया भी तो ऐसे ऑपरेट कर रही है राइट इफ यू लुक एट इट कि those who मतलब मैं इसका एक alternate title दूँ तो it's like those who walk away from the harsh realities of life
Yeah.
right जो मतलब उनको अनदेखा कर देता है जो नहीं देख रहे कि अभी मे बी माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स के साथ क्या चल रहा है क्या हो रहा है मतलब वो ये कि अब दिस इज द पैक्ट दैट दे मेक विद लाइफ कि वो नहीं देखेंगे तो हम अपनी दुनिया अच्छे से जी सकते हैं और बट अगर देख के जी रहे हो मतलब उनको भी पता है कि है और उनका ये मतलब अगर वो पूरा फूड चेन कंटिन्यू करनी है तो कुछ लोगों को सफर करना जरूरी है ये वही चीज है ना कि जैसे 10वीं 12वीं में आते हैं तो हमें पता चलता है अच्छा दुनिया में ये सब भी होता है एंड देन यू रियलाइज कि हाउ मच इनजस्टिस इज देयर इन द वर्ल्ड सम पीपल हु आर लाइक जिनका थोड़ा who are maybe more ambitious or who maybe don't give a fuck about these things they continue with their lives and they find it a blessing that some people are suffering so that they don't काफी fucked up है right but there are some people there are some kind-hearted people who are never able to make peace with this fact and they cannot look away and they are the ones who do not walk away from reality and they are the ones who do not they are the ones who walk away from Omela, जो हमारे real life में भी होगा ना.
Yeah, but what do you think of the people who stay? Like they're not bad people.
Yeah, they are not. Do you think you would have stayed?
I don't think I would have stayed, but I don't think the people who stayed are bad people. They also have to live
I would have.
trade-off.
I would have definitely stayed.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know myself enough that like I would have definitely stayed.
This story is such a strong reminder of how numb we've become on the inside. Like we see all the things happening, but we're like, we'll feel bad for a minute, we'll go home and then we'll be okay in the comfort surroundings.
Yeah, बिल्कुल ये मतलब this is the most important point, right? कि मतलब वो desensitize होना होता है ना शायद like that's the word, right? कि अब आपको पता ही नहीं चल रहा इतना कुछ देख लिया आपने जीवन में कि you just can't like even if something bad is happening, it's just another number for you, right?
Yeah. COVID-19 के बाद there'll be forest fires, then there'll be some another war. This is just like a phase of life. This becomes a phase of life eventually.
बट अगर आप इसके बारे में सोचो जैसे मैंने आज भी किसी को बोला था कि अगर जैसे लाइक मैंने आज सुबह कुछ ट्वीट किया था कि इफ यू रियली वांट टू बी अ क्लियर थिंकर यू कैन नॉट पे अटेंशन टू पॉलिटिक्स दैट वाज अ कोट बहुत तगड़ा कोट था कि अगर आपको जेन्युइनली दुनिया में मतलब क्लियर थिंकिंग करनी है बिकॉज इफ यू पे अटेंशन टू पॉलिटिक्स you either have to be let's say like a left leaning person or a right leaning person or like a Republican or a Democratic person so like a Democrat supporter so my point is that कि फिर अगर आप वो नहीं करते तो आपको people like hunt you down for not sticking to one ideology and that is why that person said just like ignore like politics but और मैं भी उसमें believe करता हूँ कि don't pay a lot of attention to politics but if you don't pay a lot of attention to politics you are technically saying कि I don't give a fuck about like the bad things happening in the life. But यही तो पैराडॉक्स है ना, अगर आप ज्यादा ध्यान दोगे, ज्यादा इन चीजों के बारे में चिंता करोगे, देन आप खुद की लाइक आपकी मेंटल इलनेस फक होगी, आप लाइक परेशान रहोगे हमेशा, ऑल द थिंग्स विद यू विल बी बैड. आपको लग रहा है कि आप मतलब लाइक मतलब चार जगह दो लोगों को बोल के कर रहे हो कुछ, बट some people also do it genuinely. Some people are very genuine with these things, with like when they get involved for social causes. But when that person said don't get involved in politics, मतलब मैं वही सोच रहा था कि वो अपनी जगह सही है, बट लाइक उसका मतलब वही है कि उस बच्चे को मत देखो जो वहां पे बंद है.
But I think there comes a time when everyone has to choose a stand, where like choose a place where they need to stand, and you can't do that. You can't live in denial for long. And yeah.
Vishal has commented, I love politics, but not the people in the grave who have created a staunch of non-fragile ideology. Tejas Verma has said, hey guys, love Vani's recommendations. Have already read Tears and How to Travel Light and Love Both. Keep this awesome channel going. Thank you so much, Tejas. Sam has asked the name of the story. The name of the story is Those Who Walk Away from Migrant Workers Reality. Those Who Walk Away from Omelas. Is it Omela or Omelas?
Omelas. I mean, I don't know. I think you can read it the way you want to, because the writer wanted us to see the city as whatever we wanted to. So why should you care much about the pronunciation of the word at all?
Amol Thakore has said, hey, thanks for making the group web. It's made things easier. आज मैंने वो जो चलचित्र टॉक्स का ग्रुप है ना, उसका लिंक मैंने पब्लिक डाल दिया था कम्युनिटी में, यूट्यूब की कम्युनिटी में. सो मोर देन 100 people joined the group. I think I'll make one for Telegram also, so it always helps. Thank you guys, like thank you for watching, but like let's come back to the story. और why do you think, मतलब तुम क्या बहुत ज्यादा केयर करते हो की चीजों की, like why do you think you would walk out?
I think like, see, do I care about things? Yes. Will I walk out? I think in this case, yes. But sometimes what happens is, like, if you compare it to the real world, sometimes I feel that you should give out an opinion if it is going to actually enhance a situation or add to a situation. There are some people who just sit and comment without proper information, and just because they have to, or just because it is trending, and just because it is cool. So I feel that is wrong. So if I were to walk out, I would walk out because I genuinely feel that my happiness depending on the misery of a child who is entirely innocent. I don't want to live like that. And I don't think I'm somebody who can have a good night's sleep after looking at a child who's in misery because paying for my happiness.
But don't you think we are already doing that?
No, we're doing that completely.
Can I grill you a little here?
I was really guilty when I read this book. Because, see, I'll tell you, on the first reading, I read it like ooper se, and if then you look at it, then you feel like, okay, it's about us. And kisi factory mein, there is a child who's losing on his childhood to produce cell phones for us and to produce jeans for us. So I was like, okay, I already started feeling guilty because of that. That is like one of the many reasons why I love this book. And I also think that maybe if you were to look at this, I don't know, tell me if you feel it can be put that way. This story could also be just about an individual, and the child could be symbolic of the innocence that you carry and how you live in denial just to let things go. So the child is basically symbolic of, I don't know, how you feel about certain things in your life. But then, yeah, you just keep on living because you have to live in denial because you can't do anything about it. So
it brings me back to the story that we read last, like a few days back, right? Ki there is no free will, so आपको self-deception में जीना पड़ता है. So it's also that, like a very simplistic version of things वही है. But मैं तुम्हें यहाँ पे ग्रिल कर रहा हूँ because like ये तुम मेरे को लग रहा है कि तुम थोड़ा like तुम कह रही हो कि तुम ओमेला से walk away कर जाती. I know you wouldn't have. Like I can guarantee you wouldn't have, because you would have done those things. तुम meditate कर लेती, तुम कुछ कर लेती. The kind of pros you would have gotten if you had stayed in ओमेला. एक ही तो बच्चा सफर कर रहा है, राइट? लाइक अगर तुम टेक्निकली देखो तो दुनिया में सब खुश है ना. लाइक 1,000 लोग खुश है, एक बच्चा तो फ्लूट भी हो जा रहा है. डू यू रियली केयर अबाउट दैट वन किड सो मच, और डू
No,
यू
no, no.
थिंक कि
It's see, you know what? I am so sorry to cut you off, but eventually the people who walk away, they do so without doing anything for the child. And I think they don't do anything for the child because if they were to do or try to save the child, the whole city would fall. And therefore that brings us into this moral loop ki, you know, they just chose to walk away because they ran away from whatever they thought they were responsible for without doing anything for the child. So it becomes a whole moral obligation and a proper loop. So it can be debated as well, right? I don't know.
Some people are now participating in the debate. Don't you think living in denial, Rishiraj Mukherjee is saying, don't you think living in denial is a defense mechanism, because in larger scheme of things we are inconsequential. One does what one has to do and then one has to walk away. ये तो है ही, मतलब अगेन ये तो लास्ट वाली स्टोरी की आर्गुमेंट है, राइट? कि living in denial is, do you think it is a defense mechanism?
I think living in denial is a defense mechanism. You just refuse to go through certain things and you decide the denial will be a better route to take, and therefore you never confront things.
Abhinav Pathak is saying story अच्छी है. Vishal is asking, is it really a horror story? मतलब वो ये कि do you think Parasite is a horror movie? It is not, but like अगर तुम थोड़ा एक मैक्रो लेवल पे देखोगे तो Parasite is a horror story, क्योंकि Parasite में भी तो यही दिखाया है कि Parasite में एक लास्ट में एक डायलॉग आता है, राइट? कि when जब वो बाढ़ आ जाती है उसके बाद like when the whole place is flooded and जो अमीर फैमिली होती है वो मतलब पीछे बैठ के वो औरत अपने कॉल पे बोलती है, आई एम सो हैप्पी फॉर द रेन्स लास्ट नाइट, इट लाइक इट हेल्प्ड अस सो मच इन आवर बिजनेस. और सामने वो ड्राइवर बैठ के गाड़ी चला रहा होता है एंड ही इज लाइक कि मेरा पूरा दुनिया खत्म हो गया उस क्या कहते हैं उस फ्लडिंग की वजह से, एंड पीछे ही हैज टू लिसन टू दैट वुमन हु इज सेइंग द रेन हेल्प्ड अस सो मच. तो ये वही बात है ना, एट वन लेवल पैरासाइट इज आल्सो अ हॉरर स्टोरी. And one of the reasons why I use the word horror in the like the title was ऐसे मतलब क्योंकि it did better for SEO, but हाँ, it's not a horror story, but it's like dystopia packaged as utopia. Fuck. Right? It is like a dystopic story packaged as a utopic story. Yeah, ये तो utopia के बारे में मतलब बोलते ऐसा है कि ये मतलब वो. और लाइक वो जो इन्होंने आई थिंक ये इसको इतने अवार्ड्स वगैरह भी इसलिए मिले हैं कि कुछ अच्छा उस क्वेश्चन पे वापस आता है, इसको अवार्ड्स वगैरह भी इसलिए मिले हैं बिकॉज ऑफ द वे ही डिस्क्राइब द होल यूटोपिक इमेजरी, जो मेरे को लग रहा है बिकॉज 85% ऑफ द बुक इज अबाउट दैट, राइट? जो उसने इमेजरी दिखाई है कि मतलब चल क्या रहा है उस शहर में.
What do you think? Where are the people who are walking away going?
They are going. Do you need a funny answer? Do you need a sarcastic answer? Do you need a real answer?
Whatever comes to your mind, it's all right. I wasn't really happy with the ending the first time I read it, because my problem was that they just walked away and we don't even like, it was just like some people chose to walk away and they're walking away.
They were complicit.
yeah
they were complicit. बस वो चले गए और उनको लगा प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गई. ये भी हो सकता था कि वहाँ पे लड़ लेते, कुछ कर लेते, किसी को थप्पड़ मार दिया यूटोपिया में, राइट? ये भी तो कर सकते थे. व्हाई डिड दे वॉक अवे? ये भी एक अच्छी चीज है. सो I would तो argue that the people who walked away are even bigger losers than the people. मतलब कुछ लोग अगर वहाँ रह के कुछ रेवोल्यूशन चालू करते तो फिर भी कुछ होता ना यूटोपिया में रह के.
I think their existence will be more haunted now because they will feel like, one, we walked away, two, we did not do anything for it about it.
ये सबसे ज्यादा खतरनाक बात है. So Vishal is asking, have you ever had the moments of solid truth where you have confronted yourself?
I can't hear you.
I got a call, so sorry. Yeah. हाँ. So मेरा phone से मैं audio ले रहा हूँ ना तो वो बंद हो गया था. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
So Vishal is asking, have you guys ever had moments of solitude where you have confronted yourself?
Have you ever had one?
I'm asking you, तुम बताओ ना.
I would like. Would you like to go first?
No, you go first. You're the one who will walk away. मैं तो सच से दूर भागता हूँ यार.
Uh, I think I had one, which was a couple of months ago, and realizing the fact that I come from an upper caste Hindu family, it was a really like because I come from a privileged background, and I was just having a conversation with somebody, and we were talking about the Dalit rights were happening, and in that moment I realized I'm such a privileged person, even though I'm like a woman, and there are like rights for women, there is a movement for women rights and everything else, but in that moment I realized I come from such a privileged background that there are some things I should not talk about because I don't know. And in that moment it just changed how I looked at so many things, and that was one thing.
ये एक लंबा डिबेट है इसके बारे में कभी करेंगे बात, but like interesting point. I choose not to answer that question. Rishi Raj Mukherjee, people who are going away are going towards a guilty, hateful, and so-called peaceful life, just like all of us. Such a nice way to put it, right? Guilty, hateful, so-called peaceful life, just like all of us. क्योंकि वो ये गिल्ट में ही जी रहे हैं मतलब. एंड डोंट यू थिंक इट इज ट्रू फॉर ऑल द सेलिब्रिटीज आल्सो जो भी बॉम्बे में चलता है, मतलब दिन में एक पोस्ट डालेंगे लाइक वही बात होगी ना, वो ब्लैक लाइव्स मैटर आप पोस्ट डाल रहे हो एंड एक्चुअली व्हाट आर यू डूइंग, राइट? आप तो अपने मैंशन में जी रहे हो. बात है जैसे भी तुम्हें अपना प्रिविलेज का रियलाइजेशन हुआ, इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि सबके ऐसे मोमेंट्स ऑफ ट्रूथ आते हैं, बट मैं तो अभी उस लेवल पे बेशर्म हूँ दैट आई विल से कि पता नहीं, मतलब आई स्टे इन यूटोपिया मैन. मैं तो रहूंगा और लाइक एज लॉन्ग एज एक ही तो बच्चा सफर कर रहा है, क्या हो गया? I know this is a very controversial thought, but like this is how the world works. मैं नहीं भी
I get it.
तब भी तो यही होगा, राइट? लाइक अगर मेरे बोलने से where do you draw the line? I draw the line at one child. Well, I'm just saying कि हाँ मतलब अगर होता कि like there is, if the whole world gets to be happy if one child is suffering, well, everyone will suffer at some point or the other, right? तो अगर मतलब एक बच्चा सफर कर रहा है, can you live with that? I think I can, but I can't live with like an ongoing thing where like everyone is like sad or something like that. Are you judging me?
No, I'm not. I completely understand where you're coming from. And I think but no. Vishal says that is such a draconian thing to say, Weber.
Draconian क्या होता है यार?
That is such a I'll give you the exact word. I'll give you the exact meaning. It's excessively harsh and severe.
Oh. Yeah, यार, sorry यार विशाल, but मतलब I have come to terms with how I live my life and I think it's no point of like, because वो सबको ही होता है यार कि हाँ मतलब प्रिविलेज का पता चल रहा है वगैरह. आई तो थिंक अभी यूट्यूब जो भी एक्सेस कर रहा है, जो भी कमेंट्स में देख रहे हैं, एवरीवन इज प्रिविलेज्ड.
Most people do not realize our privileges until we lose.
हाँ तो मतलब आई एम जस्ट सेइंग कि वंस यू रियलाइज इट, मतलब हाँ मतलब मैं ये कहूँगा इग्नोरेंट मत रहो, यू शुड नो दैट यू आर प्रिविलेज्ड, राइट? सो उसके बाद क्या है, और ये पूरा बुक स्टोरी का भी पॉइंट यही था ना, मोस्ट ऑफ देम रियलाइज देयर प्रिविलेज की है, और वो दिखाते भी है बेटा जब जब 10 साल के हो जाते हो ना, मतलब जब आप चले जाते हो कौन से स्टैंडर्ड में, 5th स्टैंडर्ड में चले जाते हो, बेटा आज आपसे कुछ बात करनी है. तो जैसे होता है ना बच्चों की लाइफ में से सेक्स एजुकेशन के होते तो बताते हैं बच्चा आपको पता है आप क्यों डेरी मिल्क खा पाते हो? क्योंकि आपने ये डेरी मिल्क एक बच्चे से लिए जो एक रूम में बंद है, वो कभी नहीं खा सकता, बट आपको डेरी मिल्क अच्छी लगती है ना, बोलेगा हाँ तो आप खाओ, बट आपको बस हमें बताना था. और पेरेंट्स भी ऐसे करते होंगे, इट्स देयर जॉब टू डू इट, अदरवाइज कुछ ऑर्वेलियन स्टाइल में उनको पुलिस पकड़ के ले जाएगी, तुम बता दो, राइट? कि हाँ आप खाओ बेटा डेरी मिल्क, like it's okay करने का. It's a very shitty thing. I'm just saying it's an extremely shitty thing. but वो ये कि किस हद तक तुम shitty हो सकते हो? मतलब I know कि I'm not a very shitty person, but like there are some things I will have to be okay with, नहीं तो तुम पागल हो जाओगे. And is so sad right now. Too much reality check. ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, मतलब
Yeah.
इतना ड्रैकोनियन नहीं होना चाहिए ना.
No, but I get it where you're coming from. You're just being practical, which is absolute, which is something we do every day, which used to look the other way. And
हाँ
but
मतलब वही चीज़ है ना कि हाँ नहीं सॉरी कौन बोलो बोलो.
no, I was just saying we just choose to look the other way every time, every day. And yeah, I mean, staying in the city means that. If you choose to stay in the city, you choose to look the other way. And you learn to shut the things inside a box and throw them away at the back of your head. So that is what we
Yeah,
do on a daily basis.
yeah. This is just how it is, and this is why this short story also won those awards. Like it made
Yeah.
us look deeper and come in terms with our privilege. Everyone in that utopia is privileged, right? मान लो कि वहाँ पे कास्ट वास्ट करे बात नहीं करो तब भी सब privileged तो है ना वहाँ पे. Everyone is privileged. So there are some people. The people who walk away are not okay with their privilege. I will put it like that. No, they are not okay with having that privilege. बट उन्होंने
At
वॉक
the
अवे करके क्या कर
expense of
लिया.
someone else's happiness
या
or someone else's.
बट उन्होंने वॉक अवे करके क्या कर लिया. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. वॉक अवे करके क्या कर रहे हो तुम आगे
Well,
जाके रो
but
रहे हो
there's
देन इट
a
इज.
line. I think there is a line at the end, and she says, she writes, they leave Omelas, they walk ahead and into the darkness, and they do not come back. The place they go to, blah, 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 it is possible that it does not exist, but they seem to know where they are going, the ones who walk away from Omelas. And I think, like, she's encouraging the people that if you cannot just choose to look away from, like if you choose to look away from this, because I think the people also looked away from the child because they did not help him, but at the same time they decided to not be a part of this corrupt society. And
बट इज इट गुड इनफ. इज इट मतलब फक इट लाइक क्या मतलब तुमने कर
but
लिया
I think
थोड़ा ऐसे.
that's like the step one. You decide not to be a part of a corrupt society, and then
आई
step
डोंट
one
थिंक
is
इट इज स्टेप वन.
realization.
नहीं नो
Step
हाँ
two
हाँ.
is step one is realizing that you have privilege. Step two, in like a certain next step, it could be choosing that you do not want to be part of this corrupt society. But I think that cannot happen unless and until you just shun away everything.
Yeah. बट मैं कह रहा हूँ प्रैक्टिकली स्पीकिंग पॉसिबल ही नहीं है ना. बिकॉज ऑथर ने भी तो लिखा है कि दिस प्लेस डजंट एग्जिस्ट. मतलब तुम आज कहीं ऐसे दुनिया में कहीं भी जा सकते हो. तुम मार्स भी चले जाओ वो ड्रैगन में इलॉन मस्क वाले में तब भी लाइक जो अभी फकअप से अर्थ पे हो रहे हैं यू कैन नॉट लुक लाइक अवे फ्रॉम दोस फकअप्स राइट. वो तो वहाँ रहेंगे राइट.
She doesn't say it does not exist. She says it is possible that it might not exist. But what harm is it? Like if you try, you'll just lose the entire life of your. See, I think the reason why we stay away from such discussions in the first place and we choose to look away is that because we don't want to exhaust ourselves and we don't want to spend our lives in this rut. And that's why we're like, okay, let's just look the other way. And these people have decided to look into the eye of the entire thing, walk away, and try to find a place where that can actually be a utopian world. But the whole idea of the story again is that happiness comes at a price. So it is possible that an utopian world might never exist. There will always be a developing country for a developed nation. Sort of.
Fuck, what if I tell you? What if I tell you we are living in a utopia right now? This is as good as it gets. Holy shit. This is like the best package जो तुम्हें लाइफ में मिलेगा. This is the भगवान अभी बैठे हुए देख रहे हैं. इससे ज्यादा क्या दूं तुम्हें? इतने कम लोग ही तो मर रहे हैं. What if this is the best it gets? And everything else is just the lesser version of it. Fuck, we have a script here.
In that case, you don't want to be the person who dies. And then you.
Yeah. Some interesting comments. Vishal is saying listening. Yeah, you always want to be the one.
I forgot what I was saying, but Vishali Singh, yes.
Listening to this between my lecture now, I'm deep into this discussion. भाई class पे ध्यान दे लो यार. हम तो गप्पे मार रहे हैं. Rishraj Mukherjee, the thing I think is maybe our efforts to change things for better may be eventually futile, but we should try. हाँ मतलब आप टीम मानी हो. Yeah. सही है. तो आई थिंक वी शुड एंड द कन्वर्सेशन राइट हियर. बाय द वे गाइस, जो आज वीडियोस देख रहे हैं आप लोगों के लिए खुशखबरी है. हम आज चलचित्र की एक नई सीरीज चालू कर रहे हैं और उसका आज नया एपिसोड आज रात को आने वाला है. इट इज समथिंग टू डू विद रिकमेंडेशन, समथिंग टू डू विद मूवी रिकमेंडेशंस, बट a very specific kind of movie recommendations. So in a few hours you will get to see a new episode. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and hope Vani did not get too aggressive the discussion.
And I did not disappear this time.
हाँ फाइनली पहला वीडियो जिसमें वानी ने घोस्ट नहीं किया.
Okay, there's another comment by the way.
हाँ. पढ़ो.
Rishiraj Mukherjee saying that maybe not in our lifetime things will happen, but in the larger picture things will change. For example, French Revolution caused so much bloodshed at its time, but in longer run we have liberty and democracy. Yeah. Oh, you know what? There's a book by Dan Brown, Inferno. I'm sorry. Do you have to leave?
No. बताओ. यही तो फायदे लाइफ क्या बताओ.
So yeah, there's a book by Dan Brown, Inferno. A lot of people must have read it. Usme, like the first page mein, he talks about, so there was Black Death, which was a plague across Europe. And he says what came after the Black Death. And he says Renaissance. Renaissance was this golden age of art and culture. And I don't know why, but every time something like this happens, like COVID-19 was happening, and this thought came to my head, which is very mean. But it was like what came after Black Death. It was Renaissance. So Renaissance, however it is pronounced. So
Renaissance,
yeah. Cool.
But your point is कि but like मैं तो इसका उल्टा सोच रहा हूँ. तुम जिसको सोच रही हो कि इसके बाद like we'll get like a party जो चल रही होगी और इसके बाद वो हमें बच्चा दिखेगा एक जगह जो फ्लूट पर जा रहा है. I think उसका opposite होगा. I don't think things will get better. अरे एक काम करे, कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग चीज करे. Like you are also here ना. Does anyone want to join us in a Zoom discussion right now? लेते किसी को एक random ऐड करते हैं. जो ज्वाइन करना चाहते हैं tell us. मैं आपको वो भेजता हूँ. Like I will send you the details. Message me on send me an email on vaibhavmunjal25@gmail.com right now. Anyone if you wants to join. पहले तो हाँ बोलो, नहीं तो पता नहीं चला. Ravi Gangwani saying, Vani, I wish you read a book called Flights by Olga.
He's a Polish writer, if I'm not wrong. I've heard of this book actually.
Vaibhav haircut करवा लिया. Yes. Vishal is saying, I'm not sure my professor will be happy if I join someone else's Zoom class. Okay. Guys, in future, please consider making a community post before you come live. ये community post की notification आती है क्या तुम लोगों को? मेरे को बताना, नहीं तो मैं डाल दूंगा. मतलब इसलिए तो मैंने WhatsApp पे भी लोगों को ऐड किया. But I think अभी के लिए खत्म करते हैं. एक और रिलीज है, मेरे को लगता है मतलब टाइमिंग सही बैठेगी. Next time we'll add like someone different, like from the comments, or maybe कोई ऐसे यूट्यूब से ढूंढ के लाएंगे किसी को. ठीक है वानी, चलो, like let's end this. Thank you guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye Vani.